Welcome to Horrid and Vicious, a true crime podcast. I'm Candy.
I'm Kota.
And this is episode 4, The Unsolved Murder of Scott Ratigan.
Okay, so we're gonna start off talking about Scott. And
Are there
I just
any
want to
trigger
preface,
warnings?
not really. There's not a whole lot of details for this case.
That's rough.
I mean, there is details, but a lot of them, because it is unsolved, we don't really have
The facts.
as much information.
That makes sense.
We don't really know the why, so
Yeah.
there's really nothing
Well, and there might
triggering
be
besides murder.
there might be things that the police haven't disclosed to since it's still unsolved, because they
Yes,
might have
yep.
stuff that they're holding on to in order to catch somebody.
Yes, and this one was actually a case that somebody reached out to us on Instagram to cover, so I decided to do some digging and talk about it.
Nice.
So, Scott was born September 15th, 1995 in Fairfax, Virginia. He was a cherished son of John and Linda Ratigan. Now, I found that it said that he had two sisters, Stephanie and Colleen, but then I read somewhere else that he only had one sister, so I'm not quite sure which one is true. But he was also a beloved brother. He was a sports guy. He played lacrosse in high school. He loved watching football, all that good stuff.
That's kind of what I expected when I saw that picture of him. He looked like he would like sports.
Yeah.
Not to
He was a sports
stereotype
guy.
him, but
Well, he was a sports guy, and he was also a frat guy. He actually graduated from Radford University with a business degree, and he was vice president of the Sigma Chi frat. So he was a frat guy, and he was also a sports guy. He loved spending time with his family. I think it said specifically his aunts and his sister, her sisters, and his mom, of course, his parents. And he's described as he could breathe life into any situation, and he lived and laughed harder than anyone. So he was really just a guy that a lot of people just really liked.
yeah, I feel like I've listened to so many cases, and I don't think I've heard much, if any, that are about sporty frat guys.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not for a lack of stuff happening to them. I know that they're not exempt. So
It's funny
I think
because
it's just not as commonly talked about.
It's not, but I know and this is a different case.
I hear a lot less about men getting murdered in general, even though I know they do.
Yeah, and I think it's because generally murderers are men, and men typically don't go after other men because.
But then I
don't know.
A lot of them. Dahmer.
Yeah,
specifically
true.
went after men.
And John Wayne Gacy went after boys.
It's one of those things. I think that when they're younger, it's talked about more, but once they're adults, I don't know. It's just the suicide rate thing. It's just not talked about.
It just
as
isn't
much.
talked about, and it should be talked
And
about. And I think that's.
Yeah, I would say it's still, obviously I do think that there's a lot more women getting killed randomly. But
yeah,
these guys should still be talked about.
Yes, I agree. And I think because it's funny that Scott played lacrosse, because there's another case about a lacrosse player that murdered his girlfriend, who was also a lacrosse player. So the two cases I know about that involve lacrosse are murder cases.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. People that play lacrosse, just be careful.
I like how every time you go to say lacrosse. And then you're like,
leave me alone. Help me. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's okay.
I don't know how to speak. I'm very bad at talking.
Man,
okay.
Maybe we shouldn't have done a podcast then.
Yeah, fact.
Silly move on our part.
So, Scott had taken a day off of work. It was the Friday before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which was the following Monday, so he had weekends off. It's speculated that he just wanted a 4-day weekend.
Yeah, that's not uncommon.
But it's also speculated now that maybe he was expecting someone to come over for some meeting or other reason. And on January 17th, 2020, there was a 911 call because his body was found in his apartment. There were 4 people in his apartment when he was found, but there was no suspect or motive. There was no weapons found. They found his phone with him, so obviously if there was any like evidence on that, I'm sure that would have been released or pursued, but it wasn't. His apartment was cleaned, like somebody deep cleaned it, and it reeked of bleach when his body was found. So obviously whoever did this cleaned it up.
They tried to get rid of all the evidence.
They did. And it's funny because he lived in a high-rise building, so it's not something that's exactly easy. I mean, it is easy to get into, but you would have to go into the building, and there's like tons of cameras outside and inside. You'd
Normally
have to
those have,
walk past a front
too.
desk.
Yeah.
They do, but the security doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, but
from what I've read, they just kind of let people in.
Yeah, but they have like people there, so that you'd think like somebody would notice, like, or like on the camera, like they would notice somebody going in.
Well, and they did, because we'll get into that, but they did notice the person leaving. I don't think there's any footage of the person coming in though, which
that is weird. That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. There's a lot of things in this case that doesn't make sense, and like it's very open to interpretation. So the murderer was able to get up to his apartment and either obviously was let in, but we don't know if Scott knew his murderer or if like they threatened him and like forced their way in. So we don't know how the murderer got into the apartment. We just know that they got into the apartment, and obviously they murdered him. And I think it said in my research that he had trauma to his upper torso, and it didn't really go into any details about like exactly what.
It sounds like they were ready for it, because I mean, I don't know if he kept bleaching.
No, they were,
but enough to like bleach a whole place and like clean the whole place up. They were definitely preparing for it, and he must not have known that, you know. But he took like his time off and might have been meeting somebody.
But then again, if he was meeting somebody, they would have found that in his phone, which they found on the scene. So
unless
it's
the
really
person
unknown.
who cleaned the whole apartment was able to delete those.
But they would be able to find it. Like if there's cases where they do delete stuff and the police are able to go in and get it. I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot in this case that it's just like
well, and it's definitely
speculative.
It's never like I'm saying, it's definitely not like his fault or anything. Like for him and like meeting somebody if he was, but more or less, I mean, it was probably, if he was meeting somebody, it was still, he was taking the day off to have that 4-day weekend. Probably, if he was meeting somebody, probably to spend that time with them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, he definitely, you know, I don't think he had.
He seemed like the kind of guy that just likes to hang out with people. You know, like he seemed like, just from like the pictures that I've seen of him and the way that people described him, he was like a very social person, and he just wanted to spend time with people that he cared about. Like he's a frat guy, so obviously I'm sure he enjoyed a good party too. I mean, who doesn't?
He's an extrovert.
Yeah, he's extroverted. And so after a year without any leads, because this case is 4 years old. I don't know if I said when he was found, but he was found on January 17th in 2020. Yeah. So this was slightly before COVID. So slightly before COVID, this was the first homicide in 2020 in Arlington County, which is where this happened. So that's, I guess, an interesting fact that it was the first one of 2020. Another interesting thing is, because the case was cold for a year, the police did release security footage of the suspect fleeing the scene. He was wearing a mask, or I don't know if it's a man, but a lot of people suspect that it was a man. So we'll say they.
I thought when I looked at it that it looked like a skinny guy. But
some people think it's a woman.
It could be a woman. That's the thing,
some people do think it's a woman.
Because like the stature, it's a very androgynous kind of look, so it could be a man or a woman.
Yes, and they were wearing a mask, which this is pre-COVID, so
why
are you wearing a mask?
People would notice it more because, like, that was before everybody was wearing masks. So they'd be like, huh, that's kind of weird. Nobody wears masks, because this was before COVID.
Yep. And not only did they have a mask on, they were wearing, like, brand new clothes. So, like, obviously they bought clothes specifically to do this in, or to change into after they did what they did to Scott. They also wore shoes with white soles, which wouldn't leave any marks on the floor if there was a struggle. So this person...
And they've got like a tactical backpack on.
Yeah, and they have duct tape over the logo of the backpack too.
They were really... Oh my God.
Prepared. So this is somebody that has obviously, like, either done their research or done this before. So some people speculate that it was a hitman. Somebody hired a hitman, because just the way that this person, I guess,
did they say
prepared.
At all, like, what his fatal wounds were? Just because this person looks
like... No, it just said trauma to the upper body.
Yeah, it just looks like from this, like, and, like, from the pictures of Scott, like, it feels like he should have been able to overpower them. But it depends on how they attacked him.
It depends on what it was. And like I said, it didn't give any details. It just said trauma to the upper body. So,
so that it's...
I'm assuming he was hit with an object and probably knocked out. But I don't know because they didn't really release any details.
It just sucks. They probably also knew... I mean, clearly they planned this really well, so they probably knew that he could overpower them depending on how they went at it. So they probably picked a way that would make it harder for him.
And they picked a day that they knew he would be home alone. And work wouldn't be expecting him for a few days. So it's obviously somebody that, like, either knew Scott's routines or knew him or somebody told them about him. This isn't... I don't think it's something that's just a random...
Yeah, either they themselves knew him or somebody who knew him told them that stuff. So either way, somebody who knew him is involved. That's what I think.
Well, I just, based off of the facts of the case, I am inclined to agree just because, like I said, this person knew, like, what day he would be off, what time he would be home alone. Work wouldn't be expecting him for a few days, so that gives them time to build up an alibi. And obviously they had time to prepare this, so it definitely screams premeditation to me, just because, like, you don't walk out of an apartment building with a mask, a hat, new shoes, new clothes on, backpack full and covered with duct tape, unless you knew what you were doing that day. Sort of thing. Yeah. It is sad. It's very sad because we don't... It's terrifying. It is terrifying.
I keep looking at the pictures on the Instagram and it just makes me really sad.
I know. He looked like such a cool guy.
Like, I probably...
And he seemed like a really cool guy.
I don't know if we could have been friends sort of thing, because that's just not the kind of groups I ran in. Or that I do run in sort of thing. But he definitely seems like fun to be around from those. I mean, it looks like he's very nice, and he looks like he's just wanted to have a good time with his friends all the time.
Exactly. And, like, he probably took the day off to have a long weekend, hang out with his friends, maybe prepare for a party. We don't know. Yeah. Or maybe he just wanted the day off, because, like, sometimes I do too.
Yeah. Usually on, like, weekends like that where you have the Monday off afterwards, usually people make plans with family or friends. Especially somebody who is so extroverted, who is always hanging out with family and friends. Like, that is probably something they were
going to do. And he did spend a lot
of
time with his family.
Was
he
the
spent
17th,
a lot of time with his family.
What day did that fall on?
That's a Friday. I know that he took the Friday off, and that's when it happened. I don't know if he was found that same day.
Oh, yeah, the 17th is Friday. So somebody did... Yeah, those people, whoever found him, they went over to his house.
So, yeah, they found him at 5:30 p.m. So it sounds like to me that somebody probably came home from work, or, like, a group of people met up. They were coming over to, like, hang out, and that's what they found. Yeah, 4 people, and then the 911 call, obviously. He probably did take the day
off to hang out with his friends. Those were probably his friends coming over.
Probably. I think it said in one of the articles I read, but I don't remember. I should have written it down, but I didn't.
Yeah, because
I think one of the people might have been his sister or his girlfriend.
Because the 20th, the Monday after that, on the 20th, would have been Martin Luther King
MLK
Jr. Day. So that means that was the day it happened. They found him.
Mm.
And that person, I mean, they probably weren't expecting people to find him so quick if it was supposed to be this couple-day weekend or something.
Well, I don't know, so because maybe, they did bleach the entire apartment.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I don't know. It's just strange, because if they didn't
It is strange.
I don't know, because if you knew people were coming over, you'd probably be nervous about time.
Yeah.
So,
but then again, they did have time to clean the whole...
and gone.
And I'm sure Scott did do some cleaning on his own that morning if he was expecting people over, because I know I do.
Yeah, same. I won't clean until I know somebody's coming, and then I'm like, I gotta get all this done.
No, I had a moment about that the other day. I was like, we need to clean this whole thing. I don't want to have anybody over.
I have to do everything. And then they're not coming over for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, fair. Gotta clean the whole house. I need to scrub the bathtub that they won't be using.
I need to clean my bathtub that literally does not work.
Not the one that
I need to clean it. Well, I just need to replace the knob on it.
It needs to look nice.
It needs
just in case they look.
Yeah, exactly. In case they look
Organize
at it.
my shampoos.
In case they pull the curtain back, I need to make sure that it looks nice in there.
I gotta scoop the cat litter box, not just because it needs done, but because what if they know that my cats poop?
Exactly. I can't have people knowing that. And then as soon as you let the cats downstairs, the first thing they do is poop.
Oh, yeah. They try to get in and poop while I'm scooping the box.
Yeah, there was one time I moved the box to, like, empty it out and deep clean it, and Soy just peed on the carpet.
Oh, my God.
I was so upset, because I have 3 other litter boxes.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I have a couple throughout the house.
I have 4 litter boxes in my home. They just
always want whichever one that you're cleaning.
Especially Soy, like, he's always, like, if he sees me cleaning, he comes over, and he for real just sits there, and he just stares at me.
Yeah,
and, like, he'll watch me move. I'm like, yeah, he's like, I need to use the bathroom, and I'm like, no, you don't. Go use the other one that I just cleaned.
Go to the one in the living room.
I have literally 4 of them. Please pick anyone but this one. And he's like, well, I guess I'll just piss on the floor. Sobs.
Okay, anyway.
We get off long tangent. Scott probably did do some cleaning in his apartment because he was expecting people, obviously. But that doesn't constitute the apartment reeking of bleach.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the suspect was trying to get rid of evidence. But like I said, there's no really, like, details on his body, which I guess is a good thing. The public doesn't really need to know what exactly happened to him. But that makes me think that there's blood.
Well, I think that it could also be that they might want to catch somebody in the way that he died or something. Because it might be like a specific way that they say, okay, it was trauma like this, and then they get somebody in for like why can't I remember?
Questioning?
Yeah, like they question somebody, they interrogate somebody, and they get them in there, and that person says, well, I'm not the one who stabbed him or something. And then they're like, how did you know he was stabbed?
Right.
You know, like they could catch somebody that way.
That's true.
That could
really
be part
true.
of why they're keeping it a secret too.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like, I mean, we don't need to know how it happened. More or less, we just want to know who did it, you know?
Exactly. Like, I don't really need to know how he died. I just want the person that did it to be locked up for life for doing it.
I would hope, though, that, well, I guess if they're still, I mean, since it's still unsolved, they can't really tell, but if I was a family member, I'd probably want to know what happened.
Yeah,
in detail,
me too.
But at the same time, if they don't know who did it, they can't really tell them either. Just because what if it was a family member? Which is like I'm definitely not coming at any of his family members. It's just one of those things where the police don't know, so I don't know if they release that to the family or not.
I think they probably would.
It's just more or less of a not knowing.
Know. Yeah. Because I don't know. I'm sure the family probably got more details than the public did, and I think that's right. I did read in there's a huge Reddit thread about this case specifically because it's a really sad case, and it's been unsolved for 4 years now, so people are still thinking about it. They're still wanting to get it solved. They're still fighting to get it solved like they should be.
Absolutely.
I forgot where I was going with this. Somebody on Reddit said that the police have been very tight-lipped about this whole thing.
Which, honestly, what that means to me is that they have information and they don't want to give it away because it can be used to solve this.
Yeah.
So, like, they don't want to give it away because they just need a little more or something, you know?
Right. And when they released the video, they did describe the suspect as a white male who's about 5'7" and 150 to 175 pounds, which to me seems like a lot for the person that we see in the video.
Yeah.
But I don't really know.
I can see that their eyes are showing, so they do look like a white person.
Well, yeah. But, like, the weight part, I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, I would say it's kind of hard to say for sure, but they do look
They're
like
wearing baggy clothing.
They do look like a very slim person.
Yeah. They are wearing very baggy clothing. Clothing. But yeah, there's like no wear and tear on the clothing or anything. It was like brand new. So like obviously this person had changed into new clothing.
I think the thing that really gets me about like not knowing if it's a male or female is they kind of have feminine like thighs. Which is kind of a weird thing to notice.
But some guys do.
Some guys do. That's the tough thing. So it's hard to say. That's why I'm like,
and the outfit
I don't know.
that they're wearing is a good outfit to run in if they need
if you're
to,
like,
you know.
And if they are a woman, they can just have like, they could either have something holding their chest down, or they could just have a smaller chest, because it's completely possible to have that as well. Their hair is completely hidden. Like
everything, all of their features are hidden.
They've got their gloves on, like every single thing. They were so prepared.
And they were like waiting at a stoplight, like super casual. Like they're not running. So like obviously this person's like calm. Like they knew that they just, you know, did something terrible to somebody, and they're just like casual about it because they know like the cameras don't know who they are.
Ugh.
And that makes me really mad.
Well, and this is before anybody knew what had happened, so they had time to get away and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
If his body had been found instantly, this person would be caught, you know?
Exactly.
But it's because it was later on.
And that's what sucks, is this person just, like, walked into Scott's apartment, killed him, and then just walked out. Like, nothing even happened.
That's just, ugh.
And it sickens me that, like, a person can do that.
And it's just scary to think about that. I mean, every time we do one of these cases, it's so scary to think about them too much, because we don't know if he knew this person or whatever, but clearly they knew a lot of information about him. It's scary to think if, like, there's someone that you know and trust, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, come on in. And then you're gone. And we don't know if that's exactly what happened, since we don't have all the facts, but just if there was, like, no sign of forced entry or anything, and we know they went up there, sort of thing.
Yep. I was about to say, there's really no signs that I saw. Maybe there was.
They could be keeping
I don't know.
Again, if they're not telling us a lot of information, that means,
and there's a reason for that.
That means that information must have something that, if they keep it to themselves, they might be able to catch somebody with that information, sort of thing. So that's
right.
It's for the best if they're
waiting
that.
For somebody.
That's what I think.
To slip up and say something.
Because I mean, they're sending out these pictures, they're giving these descriptions and stuff. It makes me think that they are trying, you know. I know sometimes, unfortunately, we don't get that from some of these, like, police departments, unfortunately, and it seems like this one is trying, from what I can see.
Especially for some of the older cases.
Yeah.
You know, like ones that are from like the 60s, 70s, police just didn't do as much as they
especially because back then, a lot of the cases we heard about back then are of stuff happening to women, and that was a time when it was even worse to, you know, be a woman, and they weren't going to believe them, sort of thing. There are a lot of cases I've heard about where, like, a woman goes to the police victims, and then nobody listens to them. Well, and Dahmer's victims, a lot of it was, like, black gay men.
Yeah, specifically a young Native American boy, which is even
He went after specifically groups of people that the police didn't care about.
Which is so fucked up.
So I think that most police departments are a lot better now than they used to be, but unfortunately some of them still don't do the due diligence sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it sounds like this police department, they're doing their investigation and they've got this evidence and they're just not releasing it for a reason is what it sounds like.
And I'm willing to believe that because I think they're waiting for somebody that knows something. And it's obvious that they're waiting for somebody that knows something because all over the Justice for Scott Ratigan Instagram page, there's the phone number and the email, which we can probably just put in the description. I mean, I can read it out loud. But
well, I would say maybe read it out loud at the end of the episode.
That's what I was thinking.
Just, if anybody has any information, they can go there, but... Sorry, I keep getting off on tangents and stuff, so...
We always do that.
That's what we do. That's what we're known for.
That's literally the whole point of this. Fact.
This is just a place for us to talk, and then we're like, oh, maybe we should post this.
Yeah. But, anyway, going back to the video. You know how they have, like, that really weird walk? Like, that limp, pigeon-footed walk?
Yeah.
People are saying that was faked.
That could be.
Because... If
their
somebody
feet
walks
look,
like that...
different to me. Like, it looks like they're curling their toes on purpose.
Yeah, if somebody walks like that, you would pick that up right away. So, a lot of people are saying that that's faked just as another diversion, because it seems like this person is very good at diverging.
Yeah, I didn't look really into the case. I only saw the pictures. I haven't watched the video, so I'm going to watch that while you talk.
Yeah, and it's... Somebody said that it looks like their ankle is sprained or hurt, so maybe there was some sort of altercation that happened in Scott's apartment, but I feel like if there was, somebody may have heard it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, like, if you live on the top floor of an apartment, people hear everything.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you live in an apartment, sometimes, like, unless it's, like, full-on yelling and it goes on for more than, like, a minute, you don't usually pay that much attention. Like, my neighbors get into arguments, but if I don't hear it for like more than like 30 seconds and if it doesn't seem like it's really intense stuff, then I'm like, maybe it's fine. If there's like something going on for a long time, like there was some of the neighbors like outside, I guess, were like screaming their heads off. I didn't hear it. I wasn't paying attention, but Skylar did, and he was like listening, and somebody else was like, I'm calling the police outside. So when it is like bad, like, yeah, somebody will do something about it. And if that person hadn't said they were calling the police, we probably would have looked more into it. But we heard someone say they were doing it, so. But it's just like, if it was just for a second or something, like if they were quick with it, they might not have noticed, or the neighbors might have just been like, oh, it was just a quick little argument or something,
Right. Like yesterday, I was in the shower, and like I said, the shower down here doesn't work. I have to fix the nozzle or whatever, so I shower upstairs, and I was pulling the towel off the towel rack, and the towel rack just decided to fall. So I was trying to put it back up, and it fell again, and I finally got it back up. I came back downstairs, and Kyle was like, yeah, I heard something fall a couple times. I was about to go up there and check on you, but here you are.
But it takes, a couple times, because obviously
it takes a couple times.
The first time something falls, you're just kind of like, oh, they dropped something.
Right.
And
then it happens
which
again,
would be your
you're
first
like,
thing. But what if something was happening to you? And, like, what if it fell because somebody was attacking you or something? And he just wouldn't have known, and he wouldn't have gone up there until it might have been too late. But at the same time, I can't blame him for that, because that's how anybody would react.
Exactly. But also my grandma was home, so if anybody walked in, she would be like, what are you doing in my house?
That is a walk that's very distinctive.
It is very distinctive, but the thing
run
about
is
that...
weird, too.
Exactly. That's why a lot of people are saying that it's fake, just to be a diversion.
Oh,
because
so people must have been saying bad stuff on here because the comments are turned off.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Or the comments are just turned off because they just turned the comments off.
Hopefully it's not for anything bad, but
I hope not, me to see that. Knowing the internet.
Because you would think with this kind of thing, you'd kind of want to have the comments.
Yeah.
To tell you, like, oh, I think I might know something.
Yeah, but if you know something, you could always call or email and just say, hey, like, I know this person that has this walk. But again, a lot of people are saying that is fake as a diversion because people have done that before to trick cameras and to trick the police. Well, and obviously
this person like planned really a lot ahead of time and thought of stuff ahead of time, so it wouldn't be I can't think of words today, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were faking it because they planned a lot of stuff out here.
They did.
So they could have planned out a walk.
It seems very premeditated. Like, everything about this case seems very, very premeditated. Like, somebody thought about this. Somebody thought about doing this. And it's gross because get a hobby. Like, why are you thinking about doing this to somebody? Like, that's ridiculous. Especially somebody that seemed to just be a very genuinely sweet guy.
Well, I know.
And
like, if there was something that they had against him, like, maybe
talk about
it. Maybe
get therapy.
Exactly.
Seek help.
Like, if you have an issue with somebody, the answer is not murder them.
Exactly.
So, I just, like, what do you gain?
You don't gain anything except for a life in prison.
Unless they're like, they could be one of those people who gain some kind of satisfaction. Which is it's
still
not okay.
Gross.
Like,
it just makes me sad.
Like I've said before, like, it's a narcissistic thing of, like, putting yourself above somebody else and deciding that their life is less important than your satisfaction and what you want, which is just a gross way to live.
And it's just the way that this person was able to to walk away so carefree, even with their goofy ass little walk. Which may or may not be fake. I think it is, but
I feel like if I saw somebody dressed like that, like, I would cross the street.
I would be very suspicious if I saw somebody.
Especially because that was before COVID.
That.
Like, it's not, like, especially because of the mask before COVID sort of thing.
Right.
Like, if I saw somebody wearing a mask back then, I'd be like, yeah, they are dressed like that, which it seems like they did. You know?
They literally did.
They kind of did that.
Like, what's in your backpack, bro?
I just feel like somebody had to see them going somewhere. They have to be like, I saw him on this street. And then somebody else, they had to go somewhere dressed like that. Even if they wore it, they had to go back home or they went to a hotel room or something. Somebody saw them go somewhere because that is so distinctive. You would have noticed it.
Well, maybe Scott's you wouldn't have noticed it. Described
maybe you wouldn't have noticed it an hour later or 2 hours, or not 2 hours, sorry, a year later or 2 years later. God, I can't talk. But maybe you wouldn't have noticed it as much during COVID times because, for one, there's, people being more introverted and people wearing masks and stuff, even though it is still a weird outfit.
Yeah.
So maybe you wouldn't have noticed it. But at the time that it happened, nobody was wearing a mask in America.
No, because COVID hadn't really hit yet. Like, it was just starting. Like, I was still working at the salon at that point.
Yeah, 3 months later was when we finally had, like, a shutdown for a little while.
Yep.
Nobody was wearing masks in January of 2020.
Nope.
So,
and like I said, Scott was described as living in a lively neighborhood, and there was cameras everywhere. There was cameras outside, inside, on the street, and that's why I'm saying there has to be footage of this person entering.
Them,
There has to be footage of the person coming into the building,
and there has to be footage of them getting somewhere else. There are cameras all over this, like, cities at this point. You know, if somebody does something in my city, like, a camera's going to see you, sort of thing. So they have all of this footage. Where does that person go when this footage ends? Where's the next footage?
I wonder if they took off the mask and everything and just started walking normally.
But at the same time, couldn't that have been seen somewhere? That's one of the things. Maybe they planned it so well they found some blind spot in the cameras and changed, but then at the same time, look at the cameras and say, okay, the guy disappears here. This person that wasn't seen before appears here.
Right.
Which would take a lot of time and effort.
Maybe they have that information.
I don't know if that's something they did.
I don't know.
But maybe that's how they know it's a guy or whatever. But at the same time, if you have that much information, that's the picture that you should be putting out because that's the picture people will recognize better.
And at this point, if you do have that information, it would be good to release it.
Mm-hmm.
But
the only thing I can think of is they must just have lost, like, there must be an area where there's just no cameras, and it's, like, a big enough area for them to not be able to do anything.
Yeah.
But it just sucks because it's, like, in this day and age, I feel like everything's everywhere. There's traffic cameras. There's people with dash cams. There's just, everybody's got a phone. Everybody has a camera in their hand. Like, There are people recording, like, kids will go out and make TikToks on the sidewalk.
Bro, so it's just crazy. Walking at a convention with everybody filming TikToks is so annoying.
Oh my god, that sucks like, that they do that where you are. Where I live, people who make TikToks, like, go and find spots off to the side. And, like, not just off to the side, but, like, completely private spots. And then you walk around a corner because you're trying to find a private spot, and you're like, oh, it's already been taken over by the TikTokers.
Well, and it's just like, there was this little outside area. It was like a outdoor patio kind of thing, and I'm like trying to stand there, and these people are just like, they're taking up the whole walkway by the door filming a TikTok, and I'm like, I literally just want to sit outside because I'm hot. But yeah, I don't really have much other information about the case. It's just very suspicious, like this whole thing. Just very, very, very suspicious.
I wish we could know more. It just sucks. Like, when you don't know who did it, there's so much information that you lose out on by not knowing.
Yeah, and there's really no, like, why or anything. It's just this person
really, like I said, it really
came
like
to Scott's apartment.
Has to know.
Oh, they do. They have to know something. They have to, because how did this person know that Scott had the day off? How did they know he was going to be home alone?
Even if, like, no cameras caught them, somebody has to have seen that person somewhere.
Yeah, somebody.
Somebody has to have been like, oh, I saw this guy dressed in all black go into this alleyway.
Right. And it's not like this is a huge, like, I don't know how big the cities in Virginia are, but it's not like New York or somewhere where there's just, like, so many people that you can't even begin to process how many people there are around you. I feel like somebody has to know.
I was looking at, because I've been looking at, like, houses and stuff, and I was looking at some in, like, Virginia and West Virginia and stuff, and the towns there, even the bigger ones, are, like, they're the size of, like, the small towns where I live, sort of thing.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where, like, you'd think more people would, usually in those smaller towns, like, notice something off.
Right.
I don't know how small his town is, but still, usually people are a little more, like, even if it's a bigger of the smaller towns, even if it's the bigger ones, usually they still kind of notice, like, that's kind of weird. Haven't seen that before. In Denver or, like, Chicago or, like, a big city like New York, like, you don't notice that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, somebody has to know something.
Yeah.
Somebody has to know something. I saw on YouTube one of his former classmates did a breakdown of his case and was talking about it.
Oh,
like,
former classmate.
Yeah, and there's, like, in the Reddit thread, there was, like, a bunch of people that were like, yeah, I went to school with him. He was a really nice guy. It's really sad that this happened to him. I really wish that we had more information. Like, people that knew him and may not have known him.
Well, and especially because it seems like he was such an extroverted and friendly person. Obviously, there's a lot of people who would remember and know him.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just sucks that people have to, especially his family, have to go without, and his loved ones have to go without closure. Because we don't know what happened, and there's no evidence of anything other than that person walking down the street away from the building.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so...
It's so sad.
I feel like I've said, like, the only things I can say at this point are the same thing over and over that I've already been saying.
Yeah.
So there's just not many words that I have for this other than just, like, how, like, for, like I said, sad, and somebody has to have some kind of information.
Has to know. And another thing is interesting. The logo on, like, the person's gloves and, like, jacket and all that stuff wasn't covered, but the logo on the backpack was covered up with duct tape, so I'm thinking maybe it was, like, a personalized backpack.
The other thing could be that it might not, the logo. It could just be that it's, like, not a common one. Like, if the jacket and the gloves are, like, oh, people buy these every day, like, everybody in this town owns it, sort of thing, then it might be harder to track. But if it's a backpack that's, like, I would say not as many people are buying, like, that kind of backpack, probably, because that seemed like a very intense backpack that might narrow it down. Most people buying backpacks are either, like, going on trails or are children or, like, parents getting stuff for their children. You know what I mean? You don't really see people buying a backpack. Like, that's like I said, a tactical backpack. You don't really see people buying that intense backpack
you don't.
On, like, a regular basis. So that might be why that specific thing was covered up. I don't know.
It's just, there's just so much that's vague about this case, and that's really what bothers me, because I would love to just have a little bit more concrete evidence that might make something click in somebody's brain and make them say, oh my gosh, I saw this that day, you know?
And it's just, it's hard because the further we get away, the less, you know, people's memory is going to be
Yeah,
there. You
they're
know,
gonna fade.
Their memories are going to fade, and it's going to be harder to remember. And it just, I mean, I can, looking at, like, the videos, like, you can see all these other people on the street, like, somebody has to have seen this guy. Or gal,
especially with the
person.
especially with the walk that they were putting on. Like, that is such a distinct, weird way to walk.
The way that they, like,
you know?
run across the street, like, I'd be like, the way they were running across the street, like, I feel like I would have noticed that, because that is such a weird way to run across the street.
Yeah. And maybe they did notice and they just didn't think anything of it. They're like, oh, that person's just weird.
Yeah, you just would hope, like, maybe they haven't seen, you know? Maybe they somehow haven't seen. I mean, I know I don't always look at the news.
Right.
So
a lot of people
they
don't.
Just haven't seen it. Maybe they just, you know, the person who knows something just doesn't know
just
that this person is being looked for. You know, maybe they didn't realize this person is being looked for, so they don't even know that they know something. So that's why it's so important to try to spread it and get it out there more, and, you know, hopefully other people pick this up and try to spread the news and everything.
Yeah, I agree. It needs to be talked about. And that's why we're talking about it, because I only saw, which I was actually really happy that I saw more than one YouTube video, but there was only like 3 or 4 of them. And I feel like this case needs more traction than that, you know? If people can sit there and make hundreds of videos about Jeffrey Dahmer or any of the other Richard Ramirez, serial killers in general, then that energy can be devoted to cases like this that need to be solved so that these families can get closure for their loved one that was taken away from them in a very unfair and disgusting way.
Yeah, oh my gosh. That's so sad to, like,
it is so sad.
See.
It's just
it looks
sad.
like his, like, friends got like these matching hoodies that say "Justice for Scotty." That's so sad.
And his dad was really sad about it. It's just a really sad
like,
case.
That's his kid, you know?
Yeah.
It's like this picture of, like, his graduation with his family. It's like...
There wasn't a lot of pictures that I could find that were off of the Instagram.
Yeah, I found one that the Instagram was tagged in, of just...
Yeah.
It's from his sister, just talking about, like, how hard it is with him gone.
And
it
is
just
hard.
So sad. I do think both of the girls in this picture are his sisters, because they all have the same features. They have the same nose.
He did also have a girlfriend.
They just have the same features. I don't know, because they didn't tag the other person in this. But
it's just sad. And a lot of people loved him, and he seemed like a really cool guy. Like, in every single picture I see of him, he's smiling and, like, throwing up a peace sign.
Yeah. So sad.
I'm gonna send you the pictures that I have. I got some of the suspect that are pretty close. Like, they're close-up pictures, I guess, is the best way to describe.
I'm looking at the Instagram, and I think you should post this one of him in front of, like, the graffiti wall, because it just looks like such a nice picture.
Let me see.
Like
I'm gonna look at the... Yeah.
I just think he looks very, like, a bright soul in that one. To me, at least.
He just seems like a very, like, chill, cool guy. Like, he looks like somebody you would want to have a beer with, you know? I don't know if he drank or not, but...
there's a... You haven't looked too much at the Instagram then, because there's a picture of him holding up a beer.
I thought I saw something on that. I did look at the Instagram. Yeah. I browsed through the Instagram a couple times, but I didn't really like.
Like, he's got his friend's arm around him, and they're, like, clinking their beers.
Oh yeah, okay.
It looks like they're
I
at
know
some
that.
kind of, like, festival or something.
Yeah.
That is so sad. There's a couple pictures with some red Solo cups too, and he's a frat guy, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't just a frat guy.
Yeah. But
he was the vice president of a frat.
Oh, he was up there too.
He was up there. That is a really good picture.
Yeah, I mean,
he just looks like a cool guy.
He looks like he would tell good jokes.
I feel like he would tell awesome jokes. He looks like a really fun guy to hang out with.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully this gets talked about more, and maybe we get to update one day and say that.
I hope so, because
that's what we hope for here.
We do hope for that, because we need to know what happened. Well, not we, but his family needs to know what happened to him, because it's very, very, very important to get this case solved, because Scott needs justice.
I hope that that's able to happen.
Me too.
I guess we don't have much more.
I don't have much more to say. I will say, if anybody does have any information that they would like to share about what happened to Scott, if they saw anything or know anybody that saw anything, you can call 703-228-4180, or you can email ACPD tipline at arlingtonva.us. So if anybody has any information that they would like to share with the police about this case, if you know anything or know anybody that knows anything, email or call.
And then the Instagram too. I think the Instagram is just called Justice for Scott Ratigan, and that's
yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just Justice for Scott, and Ratigan is Ratigan. So.
And the
I
phone
mean, definitely
number
call the
and
police
the email
and everything, but if you want to also, like, maybe follow that account, spread that account around if you can, like, share their posts or whatever, and just try to help get it out there.
Just to get the word out.
I mean, we do posts for each of the episodes, but we'll probably also put some stuff on the story and everything, and tag them on it and everything, and try to help out.
Yep, just because Scott's family needs that closure and Scott needs justice, because this case is so sad, and it's so it's very vague and mysterious, and it seems like this person knew what they were doing, which is an even bigger reason for them to need to be caught, because obviously they've done this. Because it makes me think that they've done this before, just because of how prepared.
Yeah, even the ones I've seen where they're, like, planned, they're never this, like, meticulous.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy meticulous. And to be able, like, in 2020, that's so recent. And we have so much technology. So to be able to somehow manage to, like, get away with this with the technologies that we have now is insane.
Yeah. It is. It really is. And with how meticulous, like you said, how meticulous this person is, bleaching the whole apartment, like covering yourself head to toe in new clothes, white sole shoes,
I don't know if they've done, like, the FBI profiling for this, but I feel like that might really help. But from what I can think, like, thinking of how meticulous they are with this, I gotta think they have to be, like, one of those people who is just a planner in general, you know? Like, their stuff must be planned to a T, like, very organized person. This wouldn't be a messy person.
No. No. The only thing that this person left was Scott's phone, which tells me that if this was something that, like, it was somebody that knew Scott and was coming over, that it's not, because he would have been texting them, or, like, he would have called them, you know?
Yeah. And then, I mean, the thing, they also probably made it so they either didn't have their own phone, or they, like, took their thing out so that it couldn't ping or something. With how meticulous they were, they probably did that.
Or they just didn't bring their phone.
Yeah. And clearly they've got a backpack full of, like, it reminds me of Israel Keys having, like, the kill kits.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I feel like that backpack is.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely evidence in that backpack.
Like, where did this stuff go? It's so hard, because it's one of those things where, you know, the police can search and stuff, but if you don't search in the exact right place, you're not going to find it. So it's not anything they would be doing wrong, but if this person just has it in this specific place that they just don't know how to search or where it is, then it seems crazy, because that evidence is somewhere.
Yep.
Like, there's no way to fully get rid of it. Even if you burn it, like, there's no way to fully get rid of that.
Exactly. And I think part of it is the backpack is maybe they had the clothes that they committed the crime in the backpack, and they changed after
it
everything
looks like
was...
a very full backpack.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking that there has to be clothes in there.
There has to be, yeah. Or just a lot of stuff. Jesus.
Well, I'm sure there's other stuff in there,
just
too.
a lot of stuff in there, like...
And from what I read, it doesn't really seem like this was a robbery, either. It just kind of seems like somebody
well, and if it was a robbery,
came over and
you
killed
don't
him.
have to kill them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
If it's a robbery, you, especially if you're all dressed up, like, in all black and all this stuff, you can just leave.
Exactly.
Like, and even if, like, he saw your face, as long as he didn't get a picture, if you, like, just left, you probably could still get away with it if you didn't kill him. You know? So it's just
right.
not necessary if that's what it was, and I don't think that's what it was, because if it's a robbery, you probably do take the phone, because phones are worth money.
Well, yes, but also they could track the phone.
Well, but there are ways to keep that from happening, so... I mean, people steal phones all the time.
They do. People
without killing people. So.
Sorry, Kyle's like attacking me right now.
Oh my gosh, does he not know we are in the middle of something?
He does know. That's why he's doing it.
This guy.
It's like I have a toddler. Well, that is all I have for the Scott Ratigan case. If anybody has or knows any information, please just call or email the phone number that I said earlier or the email that I said earlier. It is also found on Scott's Instagram, and we'll probably put it in the description as well. But that's all I have for this week.
All right, so I guess we'll see everybody next week.
See everybody next week.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.